You are now listening to For All Nerds Show, a podcast about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color. For All Nerds is hosted by DJ BenHaMeen and Tatiana Keene-Jones. For All Nerds Show is a member of the Loudspeakers Network, where we always say rest in peace to our founder, Combat Jack.
For All Nerds Show is powered by our listeners. Everything we do, from our podcasts, live events, our website, are all independently funded. Please continue to support us through our Patreon page at patreon.com/forallnerds.
I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat. I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
What's up, y'all, and welcome to a very special episode of Views from the 616, the Marvel podcast that discusses everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And as always, sitting in the captain's chair, it's your boy, DJ BenHaMeen, a.k.a. the High Revolutionary, a.k.a. Get It on the Floor, get it on the floor, a.k.a. I Am Groot, a.k.a. Peter Trill, the legendary Star-Lord of Mercy. Yes, it was good and terrible, but as you know and as you hear from my Guardians accented AKAs, we are doing the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 All-Star Review. And as you can see, if you are watching us right now on twitch.tv/forallnerds or on YouTube, you know, whatever it is on there, just type in For All Nerds, we come right up. If you're watching us, you see my smiling face and the rest of these melanated faces here because we have gathered some of the best in the business to talk about Guardians. First up, we got my man, Eman. Please let him know who you are and introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, Emannuel Noisette, a.k.a. Eman, a.k.a. the King of Wakanda, a.k.a. Jupe Jupe.
Wow. Jupe Jupe? Oh, Jupe Jupe.
Jupe.
Okay, Jupe Jupe. Nice. And below him, if you're watching, at least on my screen right now, we have the fantastic Frankey. Please, tell him about yourself.
Yeah, you stole like two of my AKAs.
Me?
Yes.
The High Revolutionary.
The High Revolutionary. You got that. What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Fantastic Frankey, AKA the Fanboy Fighters of the Galaxy, AKA Facts. I am a destroyer. I guess, AKA the second High Revolutionary.
It was an easy one. I had to grab that first.
I am. I did that one too. I'll say I am her. Okay.
Okay. There you go. There you go. And then below we have the one and only Blerd Gurl.
Yeah, you took a lot of mine too, but I'm trying to work my way through them. What's up, y'all? I'm Karma, aka the Blerd Gurl, aka Deep Space Fine, aka Full Metal Battle Fist, aka I Am the Root, aka This is the Bay, aka the Fly Revolutionary.
Okay, like that. And last but not least, plotting away, I know he is the one Rodimus Prime.
Like a villain.
Oh man, first of all, going last means I'll try not to repeat anybody before me, so it's kind of a lot of pressure. But all right, my name is Rod, aka I do a podcast called The Blackout Test, so as I call it, Roderick and Shorty. Some of y'all gotta stop being the cosplay because y'all scaring the Hokages. The Fade Runner 2049, Aaron Jägermeister, the Third Eye Evolutionary, and Rod Gets Rex, no coon over here. So happy to be back on a spaceship.
I was waiting for the no coon one. All right. Yes, welcome. As you can tell, we are talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This will be a pretty much spoiler-filled review. If you haven't seen it yet, you might want to. We're not going to get too deep, though, but, we're going to talk about it. We've all seen it. I've now seen it twice. I think a few of the other panelists have also seen it more than once. Overall feelings, I'll just say right off the top, it is, after seeing it twice especially, it is now one of my... I think the Guardians trilogy is now up there with Captain America's trilogy for being the best in the MCU. And this third one is a fine finish to this trilogy. It's a great film. I have a few small nitpicks with it, but overall, it's a really good ass movie. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a rounded trilogy. To your point, I think the only trilogy that did justice to that level is the Captain America trilogy. I was shocked in a good way at how serious the movie was while still making me laugh. And I thought it was great. The first time we all got to see it in IMAX, and it was definitely an IMAX movie. And it was a space movie that wasn't afraid of color, wasn't afraid of like testing different things. And it reminded me a lot of like Rick and Morty with like the fleshy type tag with like I loved it. I loved the creativity all through it. And I felt proud as a DC fan watching all these now DC workers give y'all such a good last hurrah before they dipped. I was just like, yeah. It felt good. It felt good. I was like, look at my babies about to cook up All-Star Superman on this level. I can't wait.
Definitely made me excited for James Gunn.
Like, don't even say hope and pray. BenHaMeen, you know it's gonna be fire, man.
But I don't think he's doing All-Star, but that that would be a dream. But yeah, yes. So yeah.
It definitely made me excited for James Gunn taking over DC. Like, it was like cool. Like, between this and that Blue Beetle trailer, it was like, yo, I'm excited for DC movies again. And I didn't know that was possible just a few years ago.
I've been trying to tell y'all.
I'm confused. I'm confused as to why
Superman.
I'm confused as to why we're talking about DC when this is a Marvel movie.
Why not?
Anyway, so
why do we act like it's not? They're closely tied, and the
only thing that ties these two together is James Gunn, who I think did a good job. I think James Gunn did an amazing job. Don't get me wrong. I think did an incredible job. I do think it's the best of the three movies. I definitely think it rounded everything out. Did a very good job of pulling from actually multiple places, including Disney Plus. Had a little bit of nods to the Groot series, a little bit of nods to the Christmas special. There are things that came out and I do think that anybody who went to see this movie and got confused probably hasn't seen like the previous movies or the Disney Plus stuff. Because I had a few people ask me some questions. I'm like, did you see the Christmas special? And if you didn't, there were some Easter eggs in there for you as well. Effects, amazing. The effects were so good in this movie. I was stunned that this is the same studio that did Ant-Man, because those effects were not that good.
They let them cook.
That's what I'm saying. So it was, and maybe it is a control thing. Maybe it's possible for Gunn when he worked, or maybe because it was his last hurrah, I don't know, but he might have had complete control over everything. Whereas I think sometimes with some of the other Marvel movies, the directors have to answer to a bunch of different people. This felt cohesive from not just effects, but color, execution from beginning to end. And that's good storytelling. I, like Ben, liked it better the second time. And the music was also amazing, but we'll get into some other stuff that I like after.
So
I'll let y'all cook on that one, because that's one of my big nitpicks. But
so I was actually gonna say that too. Like, one of the misses for me was the music, but for a different reason, and it might be different reasons than Ben would say. But I agree with most of the sentiments here. I thought this was a wonderful ending for a trilogy, and I think that's what puts it in the conversation as one of, not the best trilogy in the MCU, because we finally got something consistent. We have something that like has a beginning, middle, and an end. It's the same voice, the same tone. I've said even in my review, this is the James Gunniest, movie that he's ever made. It's everything that, if you've seen his work, the same way you can identify Tarantino, like you can identify James Gunn in this movie. He cares about the characters, sometimes even to a fault, but you can never deny the fact that every character matters. All the emotions, you can feel them. And I mean, again, like, this is what you go to the movies for. You want to be able to feel for the characters. And I mean, he definitely did that with Rocket's story. And I do have some nitpicks, but overall, Great movie. Good sign for the MCU. At least for now and post-pandemic era. But yeah, and this is giving me confidence for his future in the DCU as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like a return to form for Marvel movies to me. Like, it's been a minute since a movie really made me feel like this and completely immersed me in the experience. Everyone's talking about this, like, Marvel, the studio, but I'm like, maybe Peyton Reed not that great at CGI. I don't know. Like, it could be him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They asked him to do a lot, considering Ant-Man started from a grounded reality, Earth-based thing to like create your own system and universe. Like, that's a lot to ask people. But also, like, it was so funny and still sad. Like, it still made me cry. It still had a lot of heart. The fact that they were able to do this film and not kill off any main characters, like, because I was seeing the trailers, I was like, I've been reading these articles and these interviews, these people want out of these roles, they finna die, we're gonna be crying. But like,
I just knew Rocket was gonna catch it. I just knew it.
For real. Like,
when I saw him get hurt so early, I was like, it's not him. Because he got hurt so early in the movie, I was like, that don't make sense.
I'm with you, but then it felt Joss Whedon-esque when the whole, like, we brought him back. Oh, wait a minute, there's one more thing we didn't think of. I said, oh, don't do this. Don't do this, James.
The only time I was sweating for Rocket was when they was, like, fighting over his body.
Yeah. And he was unchained or like unhooked and stuff.
They were tossing him like a rag doll around that ship.
I was like, he could barely handle laying down.
They had me worried about Rocket until like the last frame. Cause there's a point at the end where he's like, I got to fight this man and save these little baby raccoons. I said, oh, and that's how he gonna die. Cause his arc has come full circle. Like, James is a beast, dog. He really had me, like, same thing with Peacemaker. Like, dude really be having me, like, laughing at the silliness of these characters in this world. And then he'll just have, like, gravitas. And shout out to Bradley Cooper, who, with that face is still just being a voice actor and actually acting, not showing up and just being a voice and sounding like Bradley Cooper. And he's done it for several years at this point, and I'm extremely impressed with that performance. Definitely one of the best Zoe Saldana performances I've ever seen.
I was about to say.
She hasn't worked.
Her character. I loved her character.
Yeah, she hasn't been this good in makeup since Nina Simone movie.
Oh, somebody had to say it.
She disappeared into the role, so I was very impressed with her. And I can't not start by just giving props to, or can't end this without giving props to the brother that played the High Evolutionary. God damn, that's a villain. That's what I want for my villains.
Another DC actor.
He was good.
He's fire.
I didn't think James had the guts to kill off Rocket, though. I mean, because a lot of these characters, like, he'll kill off side characters, right? But like the main character, he identifies with that character. I mean, and he admits this stuff, right? He identifies with Rocket. Rocket's story is kind of like his story in a sense. He ain't finna kill them off. He gonna make you feel.
This is his last day at work, dog. If you ever left a job, it's like, that's y'all mess. I remember I quit McDonald's in the middle of a shift one time, and I walked out and got in my car, and it was a mess all in the front lobby of that McDonald's. I didn't care, and I didn't clean it up because it's not my job no more. I'm going back to school, and I feel like James could have hit us with like, especially knowing like how you feel about Batista and how Zoe was doing in them interviews. He could have easily just been like, you know what, dog?
Let me help
y'all coming with me.
Y'all coming with me. We done.
But
I thought Quill was done, honestly.
He should have been done. That was the only person that I said he should have done. When they brought him back, I was pissed. I was like, no. And then in the very end, the post credit scene when they said you will see Star-Lord again. Y'all remember everybody? The first time we saw it, everybody in the theater was like, "No,
I didn't. No, that was y'all draw. I didn't have that reaction.
They didn't say that in my
I've never been up to Star-Lord hater camp. I've never understood it.
No, it's not a Star-Lord hater camp. I'm not even talking about that. Even though I personally am not a fan of the actor, but that's not what this is about. I see his purpose in everything in Guardians, and he's played an incredible role, and he's created a really good character.
Yeah,
but the way he had him out there floating in space, no oxygen, freezing with his eyes going in two different directions, slowly.
Puffing up.
Right. I thought
how's his face
that, and then having
Warlock.
Warlock, who underused, but we'll get there. Bring him in. It would have been like a nice handoff, but instead it's like, oh, that was really cool. I'm like, no, you should have.
Yeah, but I'm good for that. I wouldn't wanted that movie to end with the death of Peter Quill. Like that would have been, that's just unnecessary sadness to the end of this film, especially after his realization and the fact that he grew, the fact that he finally realized, yo, I can't, and that would have like nullified that scene with Gamora, which I like. If they'd given Zoe, if they'd given her like maybe 20 seconds more, 2 more lines, that shit would have been up there, like with not up there with Angela, but she would have started pushing for that best supporting actress role because she eats in that.
I thought that thing was perfect. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If they given her a little more time, you could have the nods could have started coming in. Because I don't think she has enough time to get a best supporting actress. Nod.
Ben, just so I'm clear, the scene you're talking about is the scene where she hits him and she's like, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying. No, because that was my scene too. But I also love the fact that Gamora gave this Gamora in this universe agency. Like, why do? Because he was getting very creepy. Like, okay, you don't love me now, but you could, and it's like, now you're getting into stalker territory. Like, I need you to stand out.
And they all were checking him on that. But before we go into this, I did have a question because Rod brought it up earlier as well about how like this is one of the best movies we've seen in a while, and I agree. And I wonder if a piece of that is maybe the guardrails that come with Marvel and stuff like that, because this is another movie where the main characters are cis white men, that this is what they know how to do. Even though Rocket is an animal, it's Bradley Cooper. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so
they can handle animals and aliens better.
Okay, we've also the other thing is like you've had Ryan Coogler having to deal with what he had to deal with. So it ain't like he had to make the happy film that everybody can come out of. Like, hey, he wasn't making that film. So like,
I know, I'm excluding.
Besides that, you had, like you said, you had Peyton Reed who, did serviceable shit with Ant-Man. But when you hand him some shit like Ant-Man 3, it's like, I was hoping because they gave him Ant-Man 3, but seeing the track record, it was like I shouldn't have. And then
some of
Love and Thunder is, coke.
It kind of balances out because there's so many cis white dudes that are the main characters. The bad ones be having them too. Like it's
Love
too many for it to be like matter of fact, if they could only hit on every cis white, they be batting like 90-some%. So it's like clearly,
but they ain't.
Clearly they not. So
it ain't that. It's James Gunn. James Gunn has done this straight through, And also, I do want to shout out Nicole Perlman, who was the co-screenwriter on the first one, and really helped establish it. And she does not get the credit she deserves for establishing and making these characters who they are today. Because after that, James Gunn is like, everything's written and directed by James Gunn, and that's the end of the story. And so shout out to Nicole Perlman because she does not get near enough
as
love.
an achievement. This being the trilogy, the third one. I don't know how y'all felt, but when they announced the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I remember being like, okay, all right, Marvel, calm down. I don't think the world is ready for this, because they had, up until then, it had been like one name heroes that we all know. And they like, the talking raccoon, talking tree that can only say I'm Groot. And it's like Steph Curry heat check from the half court line level of shot, where you like, if y'all hit this, then there's really nothing nobody can ever tell y'all. And the thing, those characters have arced out this far into the future, where we're in the third one and all like, this is amazing. We were crying at a CGI raccoon sitting on people's laps and stuff. That's amazing, and the power of what like good cinema can do. So props to them.
I also knew, like, I was unsure about Guardians, but I wasn't unsure about James Gunn, because he had this movie Slither that is one of my favorite joints. And Slither is sci-fi, horror, and comedy. So I knew, and black and dark comedy, and some of the like most brutal shit, where one of my favorite scenes is like a dude's like, go on without me because he's injured, and the dude shoots him. It's like, okay, it keeps moving. And so I was like, when they announced him, and knowing, I think it's Abnett who wrote the Guardians, the modern version of it, Dan Abnett and brought all these characters together and all that. So I was pretty sure, because James Gunn, I knew
I feel
was
you.
a monster.
I think the first announcement before you even heard who was attached to it.
Oh, well, then it was like, well,
they were just announcing like.
No, Rod, I remember thinking the same thing
hopefully.
Because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was out. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. every week was known for like going and digging in the crates and pulling out a character that was only used like 2 or 3 times. So I'm like, oh, they're going to try and do this. With the first Guardians movie, I remember thinking they're going to try and do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like a lot of us who read comics know these characters, but most people are like, who? Yeah. So I thought that was, but again, did it well, made it his own, and this movie really ended an arc very well. And I agree with what everybody was saying about Zoe. For a actress that was paid the least of all her co-stars, she did an amazing job.
Oh my goodness. Still? Wow, that's crazy.
That's kind of crazy. She didn't talk to her manager. Yeah. I would not be in this movie.
Here's the thing. I don't know when that extended to this movie, but definitely before this movie, she was the least paid out of all of them.
I was going to say, hasn't her rate gone up?
I was like,
it should have.
Yo, yesterday's price
I can't argue for you, baby. That's
I was like, fire her team at this point.
Yeah. I'm not going to start a hashtag.
She must have got a pay increase by now, because
I'm sure
I feel like ScarJo made sure that wasn't happening to no more women in the Marvel universe, because she was like So I hope that all the ladies of the Marvel universe are getting some.
ScarJo got that indeterminate bag, boy. It's like you don't even know what type of money it is. It's just like
she low key the reason why Eric Perlmutter ain't got a job, dog. She was like, they like me way more than they like you.
All right, something else that I wanted to talk about, because we mentioned Gamora, but like, my other favorite, and my pretty much been my favorite since day one, is Nebula. And I mean, this is just another example. Like when she showed up, when she goes and grabs the vest and comes up, like she's out of some anime with the arm, and goes to work on Warlock. I was just in heaven. I just think Karen does the character so well, and her journey. And that was the thing. It's all the Guardians have such distinct arcs throughout this movie and throughout, like, even some of the, because a lot of people don't really like 2, and I understand why. 2 has some issues, and it definitely has, the James Gunn, the terrible side of it, where it's like his dad is kind of a rapist, and kind of, it's like, there's a lot of weirdness going on in that, right? But I think it even corrected that, because I didn't really like how to use Drax in the second one. I felt like they made Drax to be too much of an idiot. Yeah, and it's just like they played him for jokes. And I felt like they somewhat redeemed that in this one by giving him this arc, and just even the little touches, how it begins with him screaming on Mantis, like, only an idiot dances. And then at the end of it, he's breaking into a full dance. Like Rob was saying, like, it was that shit. Like, by that moment, when Groot starts dancing, I'm balling, dog. I was losing it the second time I saw it. Like, straight up losing it.
I felt like they were changing Drax into, instead of him being dumb, he was like incapable of certain complex thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it was like, it's not that he's dumb. It's just like, this is the extent. Like, he was like, I didn't know you were capable of an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is the stuff I want to hear. Not that he's just like someone just being vapid or like just making mistakes. It was like, oh, maybe he's incapable of actually making these decisions or deciphering what's right or what's wrong.
Because in the first film, he couldn't understand, like,
he just couldn't do figurative language.
Yeah.
Like he didn't get metaphors. He didn't get stuff like that. And that was cool to me because the way he kind of like came on the scene, he was just focused. He was like, yo, where's Thanos? Yes. I want the smoke. That's it. He ain't had time for nothing else. And that's okay. That's okay.
And that makes sense, because I always read them as a D&D group. Mm-hmm. And so as a barbarian, why is he doing that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And to your point, in the second movie, I was like, is he a barbarian? Or is he just...
And they didn't even showcase him back then. Like, it took a holiday special to like show like, he's
the berserker side of him.
Like, he real strong.
Side of him.
Yeah, he was putting in the work to Adam.
Yeah, he was.
He was putting in that work. Like, he got work, but like, I was like, that was a great way to me, because they scaled Drax and then they also scaled Adam at the same time, because they showed like Adam is having a really hard, is just fucking up everybody. And then like Drax came in and was giving him problems for a very long time. I was like, all right, this is a strong man. I'm seeing this. Or like him opening up the doors to be, I can't believe y'all didn't like the soundtrack. The Beastie Boy, you know, like
okay,
like
we'll get to that. I mean, I get it. You know, some people have only heard one Beastie Boy song.
Come on, we all like, it's not that, but it's like, why popular songs are popular for a reason, right?
Okay, are we gonna go there?
They're good.
Okay, no,
can we go there?
You're telling me that BC song, that BC Boy song don't rock? Go there? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm telling you that joint don't rock. And I'm also okay. Now, all right, wait. If we're gonna go there, we're gonna go there, right? All right. Then let me get this. Okay, over 3 movies, James Gunn has now done 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and he has had one hip hop song by one white group, and the most off their first album, like their most obvious choice song, right? Now you're saying the 80s, 90s, and 2000s because it's done from the perspective of a white man. I'll give you that.
Yeah,
but it's
that's
also,
what I'm not.
Let me finish, please. All right, let me finish. Right, it's done from his perspective, so that's him. But when you have something that represents these decades where hip hop became the dominant form of music, you got to give it a little something. And the difference between someone like a James Gunn and someone like a Quentin Tarantino when it comes to music and film is Quentin Tarantino will take film songs that are much more obscure and then make them popular. Even something like Stranger Things, which takes Karen Bush, right? A random 80s song, not the most obvious one, Kate Bush. See how much I know? And then makes it huge, right? It doesn't have to be the obvious choice. And Beastie Boys, going back to them, you got License to Ill. Straight classic all the way through. Every song on there you could have chosen. So why that one? Why is it that the only... Wait, then I'll be done with this. 4 Beastie Boys songs. Fight for Your Right, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Sabotage, Intergalactic. Only ones ever used in film. I'm done.
Okay, and I feel you. I think one to Karaman's point, I was not expecting hip hop from James Gunn.
Right.
That was number one. Right. I wasn't expecting.
I wasn't expecting
maybe the Fresh Prince. I would have heard that, but
Prince, Michael.
Okay.
But we were dominant through all that time.
Look, I don't think James Gunn, even if they were dominant, doesn't mean that was his experience. And this is his soundtrack. So I think, but he's playing his playlist. But then to that point, the music fit. I get there may be better choices, but to me, the music fit.
Yeah,
and not everybody, not everybody is big into music in that way. For me, Florence Dog Days got me. I was like, you know what? I fuck with Florence and the Machine. I love her work ethic. I think her music is incredible. I was watching it and y'all laughing. I heard her sing Take Care. I was weeping once. She had a full orchestra behind her.
I love Florence.
I just, in that way, I was like, there was not one song that they played. Maybe I'm not a big Beastie Boys snob, so I didn't care which Beastie Boys song they played. I thought No Sleep to Brooklyn. I immediately thought of the Warriors, and I was like, oh, they about to travel through a long, start fighting people all the way up to the High Evolutionary. That's what I thought about. But
none of that worked for me. None of that worked for me. And here's the thing. And I'm kind of in a mix with both of y'all, right? I actually thought the Beastie Boys selection worked perfectly for that scene. It was they was turning up, things was good going down. I was cool with that. When they played Earth, Wind, and Fire, Reasons, I was like, why? Like, why? And I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I love the song Reasons. It just did not fit for that scene. Now, when Rocket was playing his little song and he was kind of jamming and everything, I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. Listen, I don't have to be a fan of the music as long as the tone and the pacing, if it fits and it conveys whatever the scene is trying to communicate, I can rock with that.
That's my jam. Creep, the first one, the opening is my jam.
That's cool. I'm just saying, some of the songs just didn't fit with like what was actually happening on screen. And I was just like, it just felt like you hit random on your playlist.
No, but I feel every movie of it. But all of the movies did that. That's what I'm saying. It was on brand. It was totally on brand for Guardians of the Galaxy. He's got all of the music comes from Quilt's little Walkman when he was a kid. He has no concept of anything being connected to anything. We know this is James Gunn's high school, like, wet dream over all of these songs. I've never thought, I thought the point was that they weren't supposed to fit. I thought that was the point.
Because the first movie, the first volume, every song hit every single scene for me.
I think it did better
for me.
It might have done better than this, but I've always thought that there's something like, and then the way they bring them in and out is always, that was actually bothering me more in this movie than the other movie.
Definitely,
like, I'm now pressing play on something and I'm going to hear it all over the ship.
It felt like he was trying to force it.
I love that feature, like when they would take off their headphones and then the music would fade away, or like it reminded me of Baby Driver. I love that.
Oh God, I hate that one too.
You hate
Baby Driver?
Okay, and I'll let me make this very quick. I think the intro of Baby Driver is perfection. After that, I think it falls apart. Like I think he's never on beat. I think that dude can't fucking dance, and I think it's a movie where people like. That's the thing. I don't want to just say it's white people because it's not all of them, but sometimes when it comes to the music and how it relates to film and movement, it's not right. Because I'm used to things that move on beat, you know, and the intro of Baby Driver is on beat. After that, it starts clapping on the 1 and 3.
Don't be such a rhythmist.
Heavily.
Don't be such a rhythmist, Ben.
I'm sorry.
That's our rhythm challenge.
Hit on that one, you know, like James Brown, you know, etc. Like it's how, you know, and that's the thing. Like that's why, like I even kind of the Earth, Wind & Fire was kind of cool because it's like, you know, silly, and it was like they're floating in the time, you know, so that was kind of cute. But at the same time, overall, no, the music was that was one of the problems I had with the film.
For me, I enjoyed the music. I thought it was dope. I think it's like his mom is the one that gave him the cassette player and all that stuff. So my assumption is mom's just racist and she didn't listen to a lot of black people music.
They were in Mississippi or something, right?
Yeah, it's fine. She's dead now. There's nothing for us to be mad about. She's dead now.
Come on.
Let's just move on, dog.
God damn, I really like that mom, and now I'm looking at her fucked up.
Yeah, we don't need Tarantino involved with this because Star-Lord would have definitely called the High Evolutionary the N-word.
That would have been amazing.
So we don't. I don't need that in a Marvel movie.
I would take that over the
F-bomb.
I would have liked. I would have liked it. What if the High Evolutionary called them a bunch of? And you know that would have been even better. Like.
Yeah, but then he would have made the High Evolutionary white because Tarantino wouldn't have had the black person say it.
He could have Samuel L. say it.
I have so many thoughts about the High Evolutionary, but we'll get there.
Also, visuals colliding with the music is what made a lot of scenes for me. Because when it is like, you could tell some of it was like, I'll need a trippy song right now, or like, you know, even the visual, like when they go into the Orgo court and they all have the different color suits, in addition to the funny gag, that the joke we get about the colors, but it just looks fucking beautiful. Like it's why the Guardians trailers always are dope, because you could take it's like you could randomly pick any scene from this movie, close your eyes and throw it into a trailer out of context, and you'd be like, I don't know what this movie is, but I gotta see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was hitting like that. And then the last thing, when you brought up Nebula, I love that they've arced out those characters so much that Nebula and Gamora are just talking grunts, and we're like they were emotional moments for me. Like look at them respecting each other.
Yeah.
They know.
I love that Nebula kept in contact with Gamora the time because when Gamora came. What she last remembered, she was trying to connect to Nebula, because when we met Gamora, she was still trying to connect to her. So for her to come to a time where like Nebula's open and vulnerable and willing to connect, I could see her being very excited. And I really like that Nebula kept that a secret, because that's none of Peter's business.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Peter was like, she was like, please don't tell that weird guy we're still here. Yes. And she was like, yeah, fuck him. Like I could definitely see Nebula being a part of that. And I thought, to your point, it was even though there's only been 3 movies, we've seen all these characters so many times. And I thought that was done so well, how they like lightly sprinkle the Guardians anytime somebody's in space, and Thor, you know. And I'm like, that's what I want to see. We don't need to see a full movie to get a check in. And I also think back to Thor is why Thor, I was like, he was done with movies. Why are we still?
The story economy that James Gunn is working with is crazy. because there are so many characters. Like, I was thinking about why this movie is so rocket heavy, and if you really think about it, it's because we really did everybody else. Like, everybody else is like, we know that story now. We know their maturity.
Special.
Yeah, dog.
Series,
like, right. Rocket's story was like emotional and good. So like, and it's clearly been in the works because from like the first time we see him, it's like he don't want to talk about his background. It's clearly full of trauma. He's having, flashbacks. Why is he so gruff?
And that scene hit way different now.
Way
you go back and watch that volume 1.
And
like,
I think that's the highest form of art is like, you can take something, put it up here later, and recontextualize everything that happened before and make me want to go back and be like, oh, he was dealing with that then? Well, of course. And even though I read the comics and knew, is they take liberties all the time. So like the way they hit it, I was like, yo, y'all did your thing and made these characters even more deep for me.
It's like how Clone Wars does the prequels, where like before I was the biggest hater of the prequels ever, and now after Clone Wars and everything, I'm like, that shit had a lot of good ideas. They weren't executed, but it had an incredible amount of ideas. The fact that Lucas would just like have all this new shit, niggas. And niggas was like, nah, we want that old shit, and he was like, yo, buy my old album. Yeah.
I think George Lucas's issue is the places he chooses to tell a story are not the places that are interesting to me.
No.
But then all these other people that have had their hands on it, that are like us, that are nerdy in that way, they're like, why aren't we just telling this story of this? Why this should have been? Do you know who's very interesting? These Mandalorians. Apparently, they are about it. We should probably tell that story. So I kind of like that now. But you're right. When the prequels came out, it felt very much like another Senate meeting. George,
but now whenever I see that Senate show up, I get hyped. You know what I mean? I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen in the Senate today?
That wasn't the case the first time.
Yeah,
first time I was like, why are we watching intergalactic C-SPAN? I don't care about this.
But now we got the Clone. Now we know what it means, though, right?
Yeah,
Andor, like we're like, these are major decisions.
Yeah, shit go down, and when they make these decisions, dog, like that shit get me hyped now. So. But no, like, this is, like you said, it recontextualizes a lot of stuff. Like, he's talked about that. James Gunn has talked about that, how this has always been Rocket's story. Like, Layla tells him that, in that scene when they're in the afterlife, she was like, this has always been your story. It's always been about you. And then, like, even the little things, it's like, this is why I think what Marvel has been missing is, like, it's like you said, Frankie, it's like just the little touches of interconnectedness. That's all you need. Like, you don't need it to be whole things. When Peter tells him Captain at the end, when he calls Rocket Captain, I'm like, oh, fuck! You know what I mean? Because that's been 3 movies of these fucking assholes arguing over this shit. Yeah. And now he just, Captain, you'll be a better leader than I ever was. Captain. I'm losing it. Like, that's all it takes. And that's why they've had such a run, because they've been able to do this. And I think they'll get back to that. That's the other thing. Right now, they're reestablishing all these characters. Like, we're seeing it, like, because I saw the trailer for the Marvels when I saw it again. And on the big screen, I was like, oh, okay. This movie might be something right here. Because, we are all in love with these separate characters. And now they're coming together. So they'll have those moments where they'll be able to talk about and reference past things. Let's talk about the High Evolutionary.
Finally. Let's go.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go.
I've got a question. All right. I loved them, right? But someone else brought this up to me after the first time I saw it, and then I saw it again. Actually, I've got 2, but I'm going to get into it. The second one deals with the octopus. But first, let's talk about, because, he is a black man, and then there's a black man portraying this character. How do you feel about a raccoon tearing his face off?
Oh my God, I hated that so much.
Okay,
I was like,
so
really, like, just
someone else brought it up to me.
Wait, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it?
Because I personally didn't really, even when they brought it up to me, I was like, I don't.
I mean, do you want the Dr. Umar answer, or do you want like the comic book?
To be honest, I've never asked for the Dr. Umar answer to any question. So
I was going to say thank you. I would never ask for a Dr. Umar
I prefer logical conversation.
I felt like Ben was looking for the Dr. Umar answer. That's why I thought he was fishing
Dr.
for it.
Umar, I want to hear it. It's always
I'm scared of the hoteps, and I don't need it in my life.
Can we get a short Dr. Umar
ridiculous,
answer?
Yes.
Well, first of all, if it was Dr. Umar talking, he would say that James Gunn gonna deserve a whole bunch of lashes, And then Chuck Woody gonna need 5,000 lashes for letting the coon beat on him like that. That should have never happened because it tears the black community apart. I don't know.
Okay, I figured that's what it was.
So
it would have been something stupid like
what's
that.
What's the significance of the raccoon specifically? Like, do we have
because it's a coon?
It's a coon.
We were called coons.
Yeah.
Frankie, tell me you don't. Tell me.
I know we're called coons, but
a coon defeated the intellectual black man. You know. Holding the brother down.
It's Pilates. It's Pilates. It's a stretch. It is
right. Now I understand because my problem with the comic book
Richards
thing
isn't in the universe yet, but that's the biggest stretch.
You know,
Marvel has experienced.
They cast him already, and he is.
Yeah,
they cast him twice. So
somewhere Jim from The Office is like, that's a lot of stretch. Dog.
Nah, it's Adam.
That's why my head exploded.
It cannot be Adam Driver. I don't.
They confirmed it today.
We'll get that to the.
No, I thought it was still a rumor. But anyway.
We'll get. All right, the comic book thing is he never puts on the crystal red skull mask, and that I was missing that. But okay.
I had one other thing about him though.
No. Here's my other thing. Here's my other question. Here's my other question. Why was his Statue of Liberty holding a monkey?
Oh my God!
Oh, I didn't think about that. Well, I know what. No, I know what. Because I think the concept was supposed to be evolution because humans are so close to
stir it up. Let's stir it up.
Yeah, I see it. I see that. Mine was a little different. Mine was if he's a high evolutionary and he is building like another Earth. Like the first version. Now the first version was obviously the animal human hybrids. Right. I got that. Then he flattens that, decides he's going to do another planet, and he needs Rocket's brain juice to make them all intelligent. But all the children that he has created are blonde children. Why?
Ooh.
Why?
Are you talking about they were like Asian, those kids that were saying
they were. Yes, they're all. But he created them, so they're
Some
all.
of them had hair though. I mean, they had afros.
No, but they were all blonde. Why? Why? Like, why are you creating characters that look like what? Your ex-girlfriend? Why?
There you go. There you go. There you go. You called it. Look, what do men do everything over?
Y'all think the high evolution? This is getting ridiculous. This section of the podcast is out of control.
I just don't. It was bothering me that they were all blonde. Because my thing is, if you're a guy and you create things in your own image, they should all be black children.
I thought they were just deficient. I thought they were deficient. They have enough vitamin D. I mean, they clearly were in the cages.
Yeah, that's.
And on top of that, he's not that smart. I think that's kind of like the recurring thing that's been happening is the fact that as smart as other people make him out to be, he keeps screwing up. I mean, the second you get to Counter Earth, you see them slinging that dope right there in the alleys and stuff.
So no, we had a discussion.
I had an issue with the dope and the way that they were whatever. Beyond the dope thing, but I
No, wait. What's the issue with the dope?
What's the issue with the dope thing?
Okay, he was tight about that. He was like, all they're doing is replicating.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. No, bro.
On Earth.
Right. He was like, all they're doing is replicating. But I was like, okay, but they created meth.
I have so many questions about.
Well, that's not replicating. That's synthesizing. That's inventing. They are different than humans. Where they learn how to make their version of meth.
Where did they learn to hold everything? So he had to introduce them to meth, everything, because he introduced them to capitalism. He introduced them to proms. Like, they had cars. There was a Detroit there, obviously. They had all this stuff going on.
He had to introduce them to Sears Portrait Studio. I mean, everything
there we go. Like, at some point, meth just comes up. You know what I mean? That's one of those things. Like,
I couldn't see him introducing them to meth. Or it was a society developing, and they discovered meth, which was him not interpreting what they said, which when I saw it the second time, I think he still realized it. Because, oh boy, Lord was like, oh, but they making meth. And he said, damn, for real?
No. He said correct, which is why I'm going to flatten this.
Right.
So,
he's like, that's
leaving. He was saying correct as in like, I don't know where they found out how to make meth, but that's why I'm getting rid of them. Because this is not the direction I wanted their inventions to go. I wanted them to go in the medical invention. Like,
here's why I find the High Evolutionary refreshing and a great villain. He's not like the villains that took it one step too far. He's just evil. And it's been a while since we had one that's like actually, I don't identify with none of this shit, you eugenicists. Like, before it's always like a kind of got a good point ass nigga. Like, you know, homelessness is fucked up. What if we kill everybody that got houses? And you be like, oh, you had me. This one was just straight up evil. So I appreciated that.
But was he that evil?
Yes. He killed a planet full of living beings because he didn't like the way it was going.
He made it.
If you have a kid, you can't kill it, Ben. That's not how this works. So, still a living life and a human being. You can't just be like,
Ben, I made it.
I know our moms did tell us all the time. I'll put you in this world. I'll take you out. But it's not actually a law.
Parallels.
I don't say it's a law, but you know, it's
other worlds, other civilizations viewed him as God.
Yeah.
You know, and look, just being a religious studies major, I found that stuff fascinating. When you know, he was having that back and forth with his subordinate, and she was just saying, "Oh my God!" I was like, first of all, y'all believe in God? That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
When he was like, "There is no God," and that's why I stepped in. I was like, "Yo!"
I was waiting for him to say that too, because she said it one time before, and I said, that is interesting. He didn't check her on that.
Right.
And I said, damn, James Gunn finally fucked up. 3 films. I can't believe this brother let this line be in the script. And then when he hit it that second time and said, I stepped in, I said, bravo, bro. You thought of everything. Let's go. This dude is evil. I'm ready for it.
But that does bring in, but it brings in that question though. Like, he didn't like reproduce them like parents do. He literally created them. So in a sense,
but you still, it
does kind of, you know, there is that God relationship.
Let's say y'all were smart enough that y'all genetically created a puppy.
Right.
If you fucking drown that puppy, you're still evil, dude. There's no earth where I'm gonna be like, well, he did make it. I watched you drown a puppy.
One of those things, if I give you life, shouldn't I have the right to take it away?
No.
Why not?
No. You don't.
They're sentient. They're not like, he just made like, what did he make?
Bill Burr says he believes in the right to abortion, and he also believes you can, you know, should be able to kill a kid.
Well, he's a comedian and he's on stage making a joke.
He does not believe that with his black wife.
Listen, Bill.
What is happening?
Yeah, I was going to say, how did Bill Burr get this conversation? Also, I don't think Emannuel has ever watched Full Metal Alchemist either, because that is not okay.
Oh, I have. Okay. Now, granted, they're not creating though. They're not creating like that. But I know what you're talking about. I was talking about from like an ethical perspective. Ethics are different than morality. So
no, that was ethical. Like, that doctor that took his daughter and killed the wife and merged the daughter with the dog. No,
now he was jacked up. Everyone in Full Metal was jacked up.
Guys,
every single one.
Evolutionary was jacked up too.
Yeah, he's hella jacked up.
Yeah. Unless somehow y'all ended this movie like, I don't see what that brother did wrong, which y'all are psychopaths. He was wrong.
Listen, I was against him when the man made a Ninja Turtle and killed him. I was
That's
like,
what I was gonna say.
My man Leonardo just like
immediately.
He was burning them too. It wasn't even ethical death. He was burning people to death. He's not.
He would just incinerate them. He would incinerate them.
I mean, it was quick.
It wasn't just that Rocket was his greatest asset, and he was willing to kill him because he was ugly.
Yes. Yeah.
That's not a good dude. He said, yo, this man is solving problems for me. He is exactly what I need, but goddamn, he is
amazing acting performance. Like the way that he performed that, I want to see the raw footage of him, because you know he holding a tennis ball or something. It's not a real there's no real thing there. But when he puts his hands on Rocket's head, and he's like, what? I was scared. This brother was acting. Okay, I really was appreciating.
And that's why Rocket was so triggered when he saw Quill drunk.
Yeah,
I realized that the second time.
Oh, because it reminded him.
He lit. He came in there lit, boy, off the sauce. They was like, bro, it's time for you to go to bed. And he was lit off the sauce, and then he was like, yo, how do you figure that out? Because why are you smarter than me? And it's interesting. I was there the second time I was there with my brother. And when Rocket figured out the answer, my brother is sicko. He was like, what? Something I made, figured out something. He said it like outwardly. And I was like, that is pure, not my brother, but like the high evolutionary is full ego. He's creating these worlds.
Yeah.
He's
God.
Drawing these worlds.
That's that God complex.
He was throwing around these people. He was like, I made you, you're perfect, you look good. He started filling up old girl, and I felt for her. Talking about she got a blemish. Sir, your face isn't on. You talking about, blemish.
My man's short. My man had to have a step.
He got on a step stool talking about I don't look good.
Yeah,
sir. Although the fit was hitting, I don't want you to talk to me about it. And I mean, hands down, he's one of the worst dudes that I've seen, and one of the only people that, like you said, Rod, is a full-out villain, cartoon.
Yeah,
mustache.
But
anybody that walked out of this film feeling his point of view got something wrong with him.
No, but took it so well. Like, that's what I loved about him, because even though his actions are cartoonish, you know, blowing up planets and shit, it's not a cartoon. Like, I feared this dude throughout the movie, you know. And then when he was like calm, and then he would go to rage, it was my man. I loved him in Suicide Squad, but he's a different motherfucker in this. Yes. And that's what's another thing where I'm like, oh, this motherfucker here is an actor.
Yes, sir.
I think he brought his Broadway skills straight up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. This isn't.
No, that was British Conservatory right there.
I was like, oh no, he means this.
That was
British
Conservatory right there.
Yeah.
Gave us theater.
And the characters also made him feel dangerous, right? When Gamora found out it was the high evolutionary they was going out there, she said, "Oh,
I'm out.
Drop me. I'm not trying to be there." But you know what? She was spitting. She was like, "This raccoon dead."
I wish they carried that same energy to the end. Now they kind of did, right? Like when his whole crew was like, "Nah, you ain't gonna make it, son." Like when they really had the gall. I mean, these are the people that are like right there with him. They see him blowing people up. And the fact that they had the guts, the audacity, the gall to pull up their guns on him, I was like, oh, I guess he ain't that scary.
He's taking it too far.
That was the point. He was so scary, but they said, we have to stand up. Yeah. You gotta listen. I know y'all hated the music, but the original score that they was playing at that time was
that's the dope shit
of a revolution, right?
Yeah.
They was like, no more. And it was like trumpets, it was swelling, it was like, this is a new day. And he was like, what? Fuck y'all, I'm gonna high evolution.
And he hit that stomp and said, enough. And everything was erased on that. I don't even know where the people went.
I felt bad for girl that was just the computer because she didn't get a choice. She was like, damn.
Yeah, she was like, I didn't even have a gun.
Yeah,
she didn't say no.
I was driving the ship. Like, what happened?
Y'all wilding.
I didn't join that.
Right.
He didn't say, oh, y'all.
But Frankie, see, that's the part. That's what I wish the music had more of. Like, I do like what you were saying, like how when he takes off the headphones and like even that shot of Star-Lord when he's standing there and they're playing the song and it's like out in space, you know, and it's like that shit was cool, you know. But no, I wish the score was dope, like you said, because it was like, oh shit, it's a revolution. Nah, niggas, you know, like
I think the music. Another reason I forgot to mention that the music worked for me, and it could have been any song, by the way, but the reason, part of the reason the music worked is it's a 2.5 hour movie that doesn't feel long, and I think it's because every 5 minutes I was listening to a new song. Like, so it's like, you know, it's like, oh man, it's starting to drag. Oh no, hold up, I remember this, you know, like, and I think that kind of works in the film's favor because, you know, 2.5 hours, it could, and you know it's Marvel, so you gotta stay through the credits. It can start to feel long, and it didn't for me.
It felt the first time it did. The second time not as much.
Okay,
but
okay. It did. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it twice.
I know. Even then, even on the second time,
I felt it wasn't bad. Like, oh my god, you know, I got to get out of here. But I was like, okay, But you know what triggered it for me was like it was the constant repeating sequence between Gamora and Quill. Because I mean, like we kind of had this set up in you know, Infinity War and Endgame, and then we had a little bit more in the holiday special, and then we had just a little bit in Thor, and then we had a little bit more now in this movie. And I was like, yo, like when she, you know, finally like punched him and was about to take him out, I was like, okay, give me more of this, like progress this to another level. I'm here for the jokes though, you know, the whole thing with the radio and all that was funny. But I was just like, dang, man, like we doing this again, bro. Don't you get it yet? Like,
no.
Yeah.
I get it.
Though.
I know, but I think like we gotten that point a long time.
So you're saying you were a little confused as to a man not taking no for an answer for a long period of time.
No.
I get it. I'm just asking.
Especially one, like, honestly, I thought it was just enough time because I'm like, this was to him the love of his life.
Yeah, right.
Cosmic love of
and he lost everything else. That's what like. That's why I always fuck with Quill, because people, you know, like they didn't understand why he bugged out, you know, in Infinity War. And I loved it because he, like, I think Gunn disagreed. I didn't read the article. He didn't really like how he was treated. But I love that because it was like when you carry this character from the first two Guardians into Infinity War, and then he's like, you know, he chooses to kill Gamora even, you know, and Thanos is like, nah, bruh, nice try. And then, you know, walks away with her. And then comes back like, oh yeah, I just killed her, dog. You know.
Also, of all the characters, like I love James Gunn, but if you gave everybody a list of characters that would fuck up the time they almost got Thanos, everybody would have Star-Lord in the at least
number
top 5.
one.
And I think most of us would have had him number 1. So like, I feel James, but nah, James, that felt right in the moment. Felt right in the moment to me.
But that's another thing I really liked about Star-Lord, particularly in this project, is that he was both a fuck up and very competent, and I could see why he was the leader. There was so many times that he was being funny, he was being the goof. I got why they were saying it, but then he reminded me like, I'm that guy. Even him saying like it's a standoff, I was like, yo, that's what that is. It's a face off. Sorry, it's a face off. But if it's a face, he's right. He's right. Or even
at this point, we watched him go through so much stuff in the Marvel universe and come out alive. He's competent as any other like Avenger levels character, right? So it made sense. And then I love that even after all this time, the writing still leans into the humor of him. Yeah. Like when he convinces that sister to like give him, he's like, I'm gonna talk to their hearts and all that. And then Susie goes confused, like, no, of course not. That's stupid. I'm gonna lock up their suits. I was like, yes.
Even the way he said, I'm not doing that shit.
But he got through to Shorty too, because she's like, talk to their heart. You know?
He's like, I told you she was feeling me anyway.
Gamora was doubting him. He said, I got the sauce. Don't
like, yo, I'm him.
Yeah, you see I've been bagging alien shorties throughout this whole series, dog.
When he couldn't figure out the car, to me, I was like, that's just showing how hard stick shift is. That's how much I started to believe.
My man flying a whole spaceship.
Not just that, Gamora couldn't figure it out, right? And she had to she was like, this is hard to move. So I was like, I actually have it in my notes. I said, yo, that's how hard stick shifts are.
This man can fly a ship with his arms, but he can't drive stick.
Whoa.
But like what I loved about his character was kind of like what we talked about before, was that it did kind of give him a huge step in growth, which is something that's plagued him his whole adult life. I mean, this man lost his mama. He lost his other daddy, you know, with Yondu. So he's gained. So when he had Gamora, that was the first time he had like a real meaningful relationship, a real connection. So when she was gone, of course he was going to pop off and snap on Thanos and stuff. And because he don't know how to be by himself.
And and also you have to keep in mind like the relationships that he has are like his mom dying, very tragic, right? But the Yondu relationship was basically a kidnapping that turned into
little Stockholm.
Yeah, very Stockholmish. And then his other daddy got, you know, more kids than Nick Cannon. Like this man ain't really had healthy relationships to learn from his whole life. And the arc being him learning to accept her autonomy and just let it go, and that his Gamora was gone and this new Gamora, you know, was cool. Like it made sense, but most importantly, it didn't take up the whole film in that it, like, Rocket's story being the main story made way more sense than us having to go through that with him as the A story. I loved it as a B or C story. Fine.
Yeah, I agree. I about cried when I saw she was happy with the Ravagers.
Man,
I was like, live your life, boo.
Yeah, that shit was. And they were happy for her, you know, like they love her, where she got her new family, you know, like she good, like they were like, I mean, overjoyed that she came back, you know. It's like, this is our Gamora, dog. What you talking about? Like, this the, you know, and then put in work.
It makes sense. She'll never be the Gamora we know. I hate to bring this back to DC, but girl Harley Quinn talks about this, right? She's like, for you to be like me, you have to do this in order, and nothing can be different for you to be me. And I felt that same way for Gamora. The only reason why Quill got them buns was because of them being him the stone, them going this, them breaking out of the prison. Like, so without those things, he's goofy. I wouldn't hit either. He probably stink. He's sweaty.
I
can see him without the top.
My man was getting green booty cheeks before hers. Stop that.
He had the pink
Not in this movie.
Pink shorty.
Not in this movie.
He had a couple other.
But in this movie. In this movie, he was not Quill of movie 1.
This is true.
Yeah, he was down bad.
He was down bad. So
he was in a Carl Thomas moment. That's okay. Everybody have a moment.
Emotion. She don't want Carl Thomas.
He was singing in the rain, talking about that one wish.
He had his turtleneck on.
The Quill of the first movie is the one that was even able to break Gamora's defenses, right? That version of Gamora. That version of Quill does not exist anymore.
Right.
We got Carl Thomas. So we already know. We talk about logic. Logically, you got to be Quill number 1. I need to see topless, sweating in a tube for me to even consider. Okay, and if that's not here, then bro, let me go with. I'm chilling with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Karama,
you brought up something earlier. Karama, what were you saying about Adam Warlock and stuff? Because I did want to hear about that.
I just think, okay, so I try hard when I watch these movies not to go, oh, this isn't like the comic, because that's not fair. It's a separate, somebody's taking their creative vision and this is inspired by. But I understand the point of him in this story. But when you have someone as powerful as Adam Warlock, and then you're sort of, and I'm not saying that you couldn't see that he was powerful, but I just kind of feel like they neutered him a bit. And he would, because I got that he didn't understand what was going on all the time because he was young. But once he figured it out, I wanted him to figure it out sooner. And I wanted some of that power to be in that final firefight. Like I wanted him to be one of the people that was also fighting high evolutionary. I just felt he was weakened to a point. And I get where we were going. We were setting him up for doing what he did do in the comics, which was become one of the Guardians. But I just... I wanted a little bit more from him. Especially, the actor is so good, too.
Yeah, Will Poulter. So good. You know what else it is, too? It's like in every video game when you beat up that one boss character that takes forever to beat because they're super hard. And then they get on your team and they nerfed and you like, bro, what happened to the powers?
That's what I was thinking.
You took out my whole cross level.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of. He was nerfed. I couldn't think of the term. That's what I felt. And I just, that was the only thing, only other character in there that I was like,
Because in the first scene, honest to God, that first scene, I was like, I don't know how they're going to make a movie out of this.
Yeah.
He's too strong and it's only 5 minutes in. They can't even beat this dude. So yeah, they definitely, and I think James Gunn does this a lot. He nerfs powerful characters by making them kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Like that's his shortcut is like, well, just make them stupid. Okay. Cause we can't have them have all the full deck. If he had a full deck, you can't beat him. But, I enjoyed the portrayal of him. I enjoyed the character, but I think that was probably the big sacrifice that had to be made when you have that many characters in the film.
And his purpose was really just to show how strong the High Evolutionary was.
Yes, and clearly, like, and he does get an arc of redemption and loss. He loses his mother, kind of like
just Disney.
Yeah. He has to lose his mom. Okay. Contractually.
You gotta lose a parent. Otherwise you can't stay on the team.
I know you don't think you just rolling around with 2 parents. Come on now.
And a healthy household.
A superhero?
I don't think so.
Boy, who you think you is? Okay.
Playoffs.
But yeah, it made a certain level of like, I feel like it was a sacrifice to time. Like for sure they were like, we want to give him a story, but it ain't gonna be the time that it needs. So they simplified the hell out of it. I do appreciate that in the end, you see that he's a Guardian. So there's like a future of, we can get more of this. They can actually flesh him out and give us somewhere to go. Although the trauma of losing his mom is going to hang over that character forever, I'm sure.
I'm not going to hold you. I didn't really remember when Thor lost his eye and you couldn't tell that he lost his eye at first?
Yeah.
I felt that same way.
Yeah.
But
He recovered real quick.
He got a big old contact just 10 minutes later.
No, not that. When she actually
my man came back quick. Yeah. He was like, okay, mom dead, you know.
Yeah.
Let me give my team a hug.
I was like, did she blow up? Like, it was just so.
Oh, yeah, she gone.
I felt like they just rushed over it. And I was saying Thor's eye, like, when Hela knocked his eye out because they couldn't show it.
Yeah.
It was like, I thought she punched him. And then he had a open hole. I said, what that happened? I watched that scene. I had to wait for it to drop. I had to watch that scene like 4 or 5
That's
times.
actually what made, in the film, I don't know if they meant for it, but that made her so scary to me.
I said, that's bad. Yeah.
It wasn't even as, like, she didn't even gloat, like, I got your eye. She was like, wow, that's what happened when I hit nigga.
Out. No blood to cleanly punch somebody eye out. I was like, what's my name on fire?
Dog, Mike Tyson could never. That's crazy.
I'm sorry.
And it was a god. She punched a god's eye out and didn't even take a second to be like, ooh, look at her fist or nothing.
No, she do that on a regular. She do that on a regular. No, but like, look, I was so turned off by the fact that he had to become like so neutered in that sense, and just I'm just tired. Here's the thing. I understand because some people were like, man, if you're a comic fan, you're not gonna like this, and I get that. I gave up on the MCU being comic accurate like over a decade ago. Like that dream is over. The ship has sailed a long time, but this interpretation, I'm tired of the big dummies. And it's kind of the same thing that he did with Drax in Volume 2. I was like, bro, you didn't have to do this. You can, if you want to bring the comedy, you can keep him like the straight man character and just bring the comedy around him. I thought they could have just doubled down on that again. Adam Warlock could have came in. Maybe he's premature and he's just not cultural. He's not worldly. He doesn't understand references. You could have just played that card again rather than making him seem dumber or more childish. And for some comic fans out there, that is actually part of the comics too. You know, by the way, like the old.
Yeah, when he's
comics.
him.
When it was like, you know, when he was interacting with Thor and stuff like that. But even if you came in during the Infinity Saga or whatever, you knew that Adam Warlock, when he even shows up at all, it's because there's some huge significance. And I was a little turned off at the fact that now you bring him in after teasing him in Volume 2. You missed him in all of the Infinity War. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, why is he here again? Like, what exactly is his purpose? How does he serve this? And it was kind of like, to be honest, I don't even think they needed him. No. You know, I mean, if you were going to add him as a Guardian, fine, maybe leave that for somebody else after Gunn. They could have sent some of them wild pigs to go get Rocket. You know, like they didn't need Adam Warlock, but I was just turned off by this interpretation.
I wasn't like hurt by his nerfing, but it's the, like you said, they didn't need him either way. So I didn't leave the movie like, finally the definitive Adam Warlock, but at the same time, it didn't ruin anything for me. It's just more like, okay, so they just didn't have time to do whatever. And of course they left him alive, and in a teaser that means someone can develop this character. It just won't be James Gunn because he's going to DC.
I just pictured him being like, they're like, yeah, you got to put Adam in this movie. He was like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh shit, what page? Give us some of Drax lines.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but I also think that Manuel said this earlier, like, you know, you didn't have to neuter him sort of that bad. When I think of a character that was created that's sort of like, that's similar, that was kind of birthed too soon or created too soon. This is an anime reference. I'm thinking of My Hero Academia and a bad guy like Tamura. Tamura is the one that has the hands all over his face. Yep.
Yeah.
But those are the hands of his family that he killed.
Came out 75% cooked.
But he's, even though he has some his weaknesses that he's not done, so that's why he can't full power up. But his mental is still very singular.
Right.
So it would have been more terrifying if, yes, we have, to me, I just think it would be more terrifying if, yes, we have the High Evolutionary, who we know is the big baddie in this film, but also, secondarily, we have this dude that has it in for Rocket. Not because he's scared of the High Evolutionary, but it's because I will not be defeated. I will go after the thing that, or if he came after Nebula or something, you know what I mean? Like, if it was something where we have this extra threat that we're dealing with, and then his arc blends with theirs. Like, okay, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I just felt like that would have been more interesting than
I agree. I mean, it could have all worked like that. It's definitely a portrayal choice that they made, and like I said, it didn't bother me. But also, if I'm being frank, we're down to like if there's an A through Z character hierarchy, we're probably around like Q right now. Like we starting to bring people in that like can't even carry their own comic book no more. Like like Adam Warlock, man,
barely
his portrayal was all right.
Yeah.
It was not what it could have been, but I can't lie like I cared that much.
Yeah, my thing is like the power level. It wasn't my thing. My thing is like I'm an Adam Warlock from the early Infinity Gauntlet, and he's always been like the space hippie dude to me.
Yep.
And I really thought that was missing. Even like the version in the Guardians of the Galaxy video game from 2 years ago, I thought was a better version of this. But like you said, Rod, at the same time, it's like, whatever. I've seen the version in the video game. I've got the comics. There's different versions because the one in the video game was space hippie, but not like the comics. So I like that one, and I like this one for what he was.
If they put like Jack of Hearts in She-Hulk and don't do him right, I'm not gonna be mad.
I'm gonna be upset.
I wouldn't be mad. I'll just be like,
I'm a Jack of Hearts stan.
Come on, get out of here.
I know I am though.
Turn around that figuraine thing behind you and show me your Jack of Hearts. Okay?
They didn't make one, dog.
That's my point. Thank you. Boom.
I'll be the first to buy it, bro.
If they didn't make one, I think that proves my case, which is that they at this point we just pulling the people that like that couldn't do it by themselves, that don't get the video game. So like some of these people gonna fall through the cracks in ways that I'm sure that we'll all be a little bit like miffed by. And I think that's a sad reality of having 1,000 characters. You know, some of these motherfuckers ain't fitting to get what they deserve. But I do want to see this character again. They did leave me feeling like there's a place to take Adam Warlock that could be interesting. It just didn't happen here for me.
I did not see that. Not here. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm hopeful that somebody will, but the way this movie ended, I was just like, well, he's just part of the team now. Like I don't see anything meaningful coming from him.
They'll have you crying. They'll have
but
you
it's
crying
also
at
a blank
Christmas.
slate. It's a blank slate.
They'll have your ass crying at Christmas specials or some shit.
Right.
He missing his mama.
I have a question actually about that last scene. The girl that was like
she's from the comics too.
But what was her name? I cannot remember her name.
Ilya or something like that. She's a character in the comics who joins the Guardians and has like, a nice little story.
Isn't she like telekinesis?
Something, yeah. She has some type of, powers. Like they show her glowing hands, like,
And they show she's got something with one of the eyes too.
Yeah, she has like from what I understand, I haven't read those comics, but she does show up in the Guardians comic book. So
okay. I vaguely remembered another woman that was not Gamora, but I just could not remember her name. Okay.
And that's not supposed to be the same little girl who's in the Guardians game, is it? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there's an alien girl in that too. There's another alien girl who is allegedly Star-Lord's daughter in that.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's a great game, y'all. If you haven't played it, the Guardians of the Galaxy game is oh my God, it's incredible beginning to end. It's such an emotional story. It's a great solo game for people who love solo games, and it's I was so surprised by that game. To this day,
is it a first-person shooter or
no? It's like third person, and you control Star-Lord, and then you manage the team, and it's like the choices make the team like you more. Like you either bring the Guardians together or you force them apart.
Now I will say, not a lot of hip hop music in it. So
no, I don't even remember the music though.
That's on brand. That's on brand.
Yeah, right. It's on brand.
It worked for me, but
Adam Warlock does speak in bars. So there was some hip hop there, because I got my bars from Adam Warlock. So because my man speaks in rhyme.
I think James Gunn should take Etrigan in the DC universe and let Black Thought write the bars for him. I feel like we need that.
That'd be insane.
I feel like the world needs
fire.
Etrigan is one of my favorites too for his bars.
Yeah,
and
his bars always be so simple in the TV shows. I want some intricate stuff.
You want him to really start spitting.
I want him to be spitting. I want him to be talking to us to be like, yo, this nigga is spitting.
So don't come with that high English.
Ask him some more questions.
If Black Thought is doing the voice too, like that would be amazing. But back to Jack of Hearts real quick. The reason why he never became popular is they said all the artists hated drawing his complex ass costume. So they revolted in unison against the creator and would never draw Jack of Hearts.
And that's why he ain't getting no merch.
And I love his costume. That shit is so ridiculous.
As hell. That costume is flames.
It is flames. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Rod. At least we can agree on there.
That's valid as hell. Because I'm just picturing trying to draw it, and they absolutely right.
God, that shit is a hot mess. Ain't no way. I punch a nigga in the mouth. You tell me try that shit.
Bro, we had a joke on Game Theory this season that we got tired of them trying to make us change the joke. They'd be like, "Can you change it? Can you change it?" Look, it's just not. We want some type of. The last day was the day of the show.
Yep.
And they sent us to they sent it one more time. Like, I know we asked you every day this week. Can y'all come up with some more examples for this thing? And we just all said no.
But what was the joke? Y'all rebelled and said, nah,
it was about NCAA, women's NCAA players getting eggs in a bag for their meal when the men
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that episode. Yep.
And we had done every egg in a bag joke you can think of. There was nothing left. And they sent it the last day and everybody was like, we were making jokes that they wanted us to write jokes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was writing jokes like, man, that egg in a bag is like asking writers to keep writing about eggs in a bag for a week, even though we already did this shit. Like, I feel like that's what happened with those artists in Jack of Hearts. They're like, man, fuck that, dude.
No, ain't no way. Ain't no way. If you think Spider-Man's webs is hard, bro, no, ain't no fucking way, nigga. And niggas stop drawing the webs on Spider-Man half the time, boy. They do not care. Niggas do not draw them.
It's just a string.
No. Yeah. No, I mean the webs on his costume. He just be red and blue.
Yeah.
That's why they turn that man black and white.
They did the anime thing where it's Jack of Hearts the same way every time, but his mouth is moving.
All right, I think we're done with our Guardians review. We like, basketball when it turns into a blowout and they just start talking about some other shit.
I'm sorry for that, guys.
No, it's all good. Unless anybody has any last thoughts, I did say, I think they tried. I felt like it was a fetch, with that little doll thing, like they was really trying to make that happen. And I don't know, it did not happen for me. Like when the dog started pissing on the ground. No, Cosmo's amazing. What do you mean? Cosmo's the best dog in the world. Like,
good dog. She's a good dog.
She's the best dog. Come on, man.
Good dog.
That scene with her and what's his name with Craglan. Even that, like
James Gunn's brother.
What do you say? Nebula and Craglan. What was it? Crag Nebula. He's Crag. He had something like when they come together again. He's like Crag Nebula or something. I can't remember what he calls it. Yeah, he put their names together. He's like active again. I love that shit. Because him and Craglan and Nebula had the relationship from the second one when he comes up on her and was like, "What are you gonna do when you get, buy a nice hat?"
Craglan's also such a good character.
Such a good character, man.
Like, better than he has any right to be, considering how small his screen time is.
But he has in part 2 when he betrays what's his name and then he's mad that all the dudes get killed. Like he's a character, man. Gunn's brother does it in that role. And Cosmo, is the best dog.
Shout out to nepotism. It worked that time.
His name's Sean. Y'all gotta give him some. Like the man.
Hey, listen. Shout out to the nepotism. Sometimes it be hitting.
I mean, James Gunn's wife, also worked out. Worked out for her. That's his wife who gets shot. For those who didn't know.
But are y'all not putting your wife and your brother in your movie?
Yes.
Oh no! I didn't say nothing was wrong with the nepotism. I said shout out to nepotism.
Because some people are like, I can't believe he keep on putting them all up in his movies.
They would do the same thing. They would do the same thing.
I'm doing the same thing. I was like, actually, I'd be tight if my sister do a movie. I'm not
right.
I'm not in said movie.
Also, like,
Chris Como.
Black people nepotism hit different anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if you black and it's some nepotism, it's because you can do the job. It's not like sometimes white people get a little too friendly and be like, I don't even know if you can act. You won't be in the movie, but black people, they're not gonna do that.
Think about how many Skarsgårds have we seen? Like, come on.
They can all act.
We went through generations already. But they good.
From the dad on down, that's like the
look at but it's black nepotism. Look at the Wayans.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all of them can bring it. Like, look at, you know what I'm saying? Look at the Jacksons. Like, they all got something. Like, white nepotism just hit. It's a little different.
It is a little different.
Yeah, they mess around and let you direct Godfather 3 or something.
Woo! All right. Rod, since you're bringing the hot fire, let the people know where they can find you at.
Oh yeah, man. Just search the Blackout Tips everywhere you get podcasts and stuff. Check us out. And watch Game Theory on HBO Max if you're into sports and nerdy, funny stuff. You can check me out there. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but there's a podcast that I'm writing for that's coming up soon called Drake the Maniacs with Michael Harriot. So that'll be out soon, and it's kind of funny if you like Black history and comedy. Check us out when it comes out.
What's the name again?
Drapetomaniacs. Yeah, it's a word. Drapetomania is a word that a white man came up with. He said it was a mental illness of black slaves who wanted to be free. They must have something wrong with them. So they had drapetomania.
Wow.
That's the name of the show.
That's dope. That's fire. Tell Michael Harriot, man, he got to come on 4 on Nerds, man. I've been, trying to get this brother on here for years, bro. I love that, man.
I'll ask him.
Great. Yeah, please do that. Blerd Gurl.
Yeah, I don't have a flex like that, but you can maybe pick up my book, Protectors of Wakanda, History and Training Manual.
I mean, that's a flex.
That is what...
Watch her tell us how these famous people should be interviewing, too. Like, don't let her do this, Dom. Don't let her do this.
Yeah, that's coming next.
Yeah. I also have a horror podcast called Pop Paranormal. Please listen, please comment. We're trying to get a season 2. And also, yes, the Blerd Gurl podcast is back. I'm trying to make it as fly as For All Nerds. I'm trying. And also check out my reviews over on The Rap and Mashable.
All right. And Pop Paranormal, make sure y'all check that out. And Frankey?
Yeah. It's like, I'm on HBO Max. You can find me on all platforms at Fantastic Frankey. I have a couple projects coming down, so be sure to put on your push notifications. And yeah, except for Twitter, you can find me at Fanboy Fighter.
Mm-hmm. And Eman.
Yeah, I'm not on TV no more. I ain't got no books. I'm not as popular as Frankey, but you can definitely find me on all platforms. Eman's movie reviews every Friday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do a recap of all the entertainment news from the week, and I give you my commentary. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's insightful, sometimes we just there just to have a good old time, and you should absolutely come and join. Right now, I am covering the little talked about series on MGM From with Harold Perrineau in there. That is one of the best series that not enough people are talking about. I was late on it, but I started covering it, and I am down the rabbit hole. It is fantastic.
Damn.
I've given everybody the From challenge. If you haven't heard of it or seen it, all you got to do, and it's free on Amazon Prime, go watch the first 8 minutes of the first episode of season 1. If you're hooked, if you are curious, if you are interested, you got to finish the whole season. If you don't like what you see in them first 8 minutes, walk away. The whole show ain't for you. But if you are good with it, come on to my channel, watch these full breakdowns, because you're going to have questions, and I might have some answers. So there you go.
That's like I've been getting everybody the Athena challenge. Athena is on Netflix still, if you have not seen it. It's one of the greatest movies of all time to me, and the first 12 minutes of it are one long shot. And if that does not absolutely blow your mind, and then everything else after that just gets better and better. But that's that. I am DJ BenHaMeen. As y'all know, the host of For All Nerds. You can follow us at For All Nerds on all platforms, everywhere. Does not matter. Just type in For All Nerds on Twitch, on YouTube, on all those podcast platforms. You can also go to forallnerds.com and get some of our merch, which is exclusive to forallnerds.com, like the Gucci Mandalorian shirt that I'm rocking right now. We got the Wong Was Right. We got the T'Challa and Friends. We got the Lionel Richie. We got more designs coming soon. Go over there, drop your email. Even if you don't cop something, just drop your email. Get on the list. We'll be sending out some bonuses, some sales, all that. You get first rights to the new merch when it drops. What else I got going on? real soon, I'm gonna have a graphic novel announcement. I've been told that finally, fucking the announcement is coming. So
Congrats.
soon, I'll be able to talk about this publicly. Where and we'll get to that, and then I'll be going all around the world talking about it all the time. Got some music dropping this summer, so look out for that, and a few other things. Oh yeah, October 19th, we will be in Washington D.C. for we're doing a Afrofuturism panel at the Smithsonian at the National NHAAMC. I always mess it up, at the Black Smithsonian. We will be there October 19th. That is Howard Homecoming Week, so catch us there. We just got back from UCLA. Shout out to Dr. Drea Lettermende for bringing us out to UCLA. We'll be dropping our panel that we did there on all of our podcast platforms, and first on patreon.com/forallnerds. That's the last thing I need to mention. You can go over to Patreon and support us directly. Thank you to everyone over there. We'll be dropping another exclusive episode over there, as well as the UCLA panel over there as well. I think that's about it. Anybody else? Anything else? Nah. All right. Thank y'all for joining me. Thanks to the panel. Thank you. Love doing these all-star shows. Always a blast. We'll be back.